Welcome to Site Building Hub. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to create a landing page using Wix. We're going to go over how to use the Wix website builder and leverage that with an effective layout that drives conversions. For this specific project, I'm going to be using 6 images and 2 videos. Apart from that, the only thing you're going to need is a Wix account. I'm going to leave a link in the description so you can access it from here. Once in the main website, we're going to go ahead and click the Get Started button so we can register an account. In here, it's just as simple as entering an email and creating a password. We can then go on and answer a questionnaire, but for now I'm going to skip it. And finally, we are going to select the Choose a Template option. The template page is going to display a wide variety of different styles, but we're going to go ahead and select the blank template option. In this case, we're going to create a website from scratch. We want to get that total design freedom, but most importantly, have a deep dive on how Wix works from start to launch. Alright, so this is it. This is the starting point of any Wix website. Let's have a quick overview of the interface. I'm going to start by adding a few elements so we can have a visual reference of what we're doing. So I'm going to be adding a box, and within that box I'm going to drag and drop a heading element. In order for an element to be placed on your website, you can either click on it or drag it into the template. And first, we're going to go over this toolset on the right side. Here we can control the styling details of any selected element. So in this case, I'm going to have the heading 3 selected, and as you can see, we can copy it, paste it, we can delete it, and we can also duplicate it. Everything just by using the buttons on the toolbar. And now I'm going to show you a very useful positioning feature. I'm going to start by adding an image into the template. And just making sure it fits within the box, and we're ready. Using the arrangement options in the toolbar, we can now set the position of each one of the elements. I've got the image selected. It's just a matter of tweaking the position so we can place it on top of both of the elements, below both of the elements, on top of one, but below one of the elements. You can basically decide which elements are going to be overriding each other. And right next to that option, we can also edit the alignment of the selected element. We can edit the horizontal alignment or the vertical alignment as well. And lastly, I'm going to show you how to modify the size of an element. Once we've selected it, it's just a matter of changing the pixel value of the width or height of the element. And this is basically how this toolbar can help you design your website. You've got a few controls and it makes it very easy and practical to modify the elements within your template. Alright, so now let's go back to the starting point, a blank template. The toolbar on the left side is what we're going to be using mostly throughout the creation of the website. In this case, we're going to be learning more about it on the go. Now that we got this down, let's go ahead and get started building the website. The way I prefer to start my whole site building process is by dragging all the files that I'm going to be using into the media section. That way, I'm not going to have to be looking for images or videos as I'm building the website. I honestly think that it improves the workflow by a lot. So if you have an idea of the images and videos that you're going to be using for your website, just make sure you include them before you begin. Alright, so now we're going to get started with the design and layout of the website. The first section is going to be a persuasive video banner. In here, we want to make the best possible first impression. I'm going to do it by using a container, setting a background video, and setting the initial messaging. But before we continue, I want to give you a quick recap of what we're working with. Whenever you click on the Add section button, you're going to see that there's a wide variety of different elements that we can use. Whether it is images, text, empty containers, or pre-made containers, you got it all here. To create a website, you rarely need many of them, and this video is going to be the perfect example. I'm going to be using about 4 or 5 elements in here, but that's going to be more than enough for what we need. Like I said, I'm going to start by adding a container, and to do that, we got to go to the strip elements in the add section. You can choose between pre-made containers that you can edit or completely empty ones. There are some containers that already come with background videos included. Those ones have this little video icon on the bottom left corner. So I'm going to be using this one by clicking on it, and now we got it on the website. The first thing I'm going to be doing is nailing it on top and setting the video. If you click on the container, it's just a matter of going to the change strip background option and selecting the video format. As soon as we do that, we just find the file in the media library, and that's it. We got the video. I'm going to stretch it a bit so we get this full screen display, and let's take a look at the preview. So I'm going to be setting text on top of the video, and I don't want the text and the video to just overpower each other in terms of brightness or colors. The way I'm going to solve this is by setting an overlay layer. This is going to help us neutralize all the brightness. The way we do this is by going to the settings options, toggling the overlay switch on, and setting the opacity percentage. Along with that, we select a color, and that's it. We got the overlay layer. To wrap this up, I'm just going to set the opacity to 60%. Alright, now let's have a quick overview of some of the other things we can edit in here. At the bottom, we can select the frequency and speed of the video. Right above, we can set the positioning of the element in relationship to the container. I'm just going to leave it as it is. And in case we had an image instead of a video, we could also set scroll effects. So yeah, you can have background images, background videos, or plain colors for your containers. So in general, this is going to be the foundation for the banner. On top of it, I'm going to be adding some text and a button. I'm going to start by adding the title. On the Add Element section, I will select the text option, and as you can see, we got different types of text. We can either add titles or paragraphs. I'm going to choose the title section and select a bold title element. This is going to be where I write the name of the project. In this case, it's going to be a website for a fitness center. I'm going to go for an all caps title, set the font size to 17 pixels, and the color to blue. I've got a very specific tone of blue in mind, so I'm going to go ahead, select the Add Color section, and in here I can set my very own custom color. Whenever we're designing with Wix, we have a grid line set to 980 pixels in width, with the purpose of it being universally visible for every device out there. So keep this in mind, and my recommendation would be to keep your content within those grid lines. If you don't have the grid lines option set, it's very easy to turn it on. You just have to hover over the tools menu, and then here you can just toggle the grid lines option. And now let's move on to the main headline. You gotta see this as one of the most important sections of your whole website. Remember, the purpose of your landing page is to get conversions. To do that, you gotta be really specific with your messaging. The visitors have got to know what's the benefit, the bottom line, the value proposition, all of that as quick and clear as possible. So I just added a classic title element, and now I'm going to nail down the messaging with a clear and straightforward phrase that highlights the main benefit for the customer. I'm going to set a font size of 45 pixels and also set the text color to white. And finally, I'm just going to make it a bit larger so it's more readable. This is just an example, but I want you to notice the elements within the headline. We are offering specific and tangible results in a defined time frame. This is going to allow the visitors have a clear reference of the main benefit they are having whenever they sign up for the fitness center. And for the description below, we're going to expand on the idea mentioned in the headline, but include a few more details that lead to greater interest, curiosity, or even questions, so you can keep the visitors on their toes. I'm going to be adding a Helvetica Light paragraph by double-clicking on it and set it right underneath the headline. I'm going to leave the font size at 15 pixels and set the font color to white. And now for the last detail, I'm just going to give it a bit more width. And now for the last part, I'm going to add a button element. In the button section, I'm going to go ahead and choose the first option by double-clicking on it, set it underneath the paragraph section, aligning it with the rest of the elements, and then I'm going to change the inner text to join. At this point, we got our first CTA. The last thing I'm going to do is edit the design. I'm just gonna add a background color that matches the heading we created above. As you can see, the custom color is now saved in here, so we can now just set it directly. And the other thing I'm gonna do is set a black background color whenever you hover over the button. And finally, I'm just gonna preview the website, see what we got up to this point. And see, whenever we hover over the button, it changes the background color to black. For the next section, we're going to have a description that expands on the product details. It's gonna set the tone for what we're offering. Much like we did with the last section, we're gonna start by adding a strip element. This time, we're gonna access the Classic tab and select the dark one at the top. I'm gonna double click to get it in the template, and I'm gonna leave it just like that. I'm not gonna edit the size on this one. I'm now gonna add a Classic title, set the font size to 40, and the font color to white. Using the toolbar on the right, I'm gonna make sure that it is aligned vertically. And now I'm gonna place it to about 40 pixels into the grid line. I'm going to expand on this message by setting a paragraph element to the right side of this strip. To keep it consistent, I chose a Helvetica Light paragraph once again. I'm going to set the font size to 20, align it vertically, and change the font color to white. I'm actually going to decrease the font size to 18 pixels. So as a result, we got to move it, we got to realign it to the other text, and there you go. And as you can see, the purpose of this section is to let the visitors know what the actual product is. They already know the main benefits, they already know that we are a fitness center, and now they know that the actual product is workshops. We are selling workshops from the fitness enthusiast level to professional athletes. So at this point, everyone that visits the website has a clear idea of what we're all about. The third section is going to be a use case. We'll be showcasing the product in action. We're going to give life to our messaging by showing the visitors a visual reference to what we're offering. Very similarly to what we did last time, we're going to go over to the strip section, to the Classic tab, and select a white strip. I'm going to stretch it just to make sure that the content's going to fit in within the strip. If we need to resize it in the future, it's just a matter of dragging it back up. On the Add menu, let's go for the video and music section and select the video upload option. First of all, let's make sure that the video is aligned vertically. Now I'm going to go ahead, click on the video, select the change video button, and then I'm just going to choose one of my media files. This video simulates the workshops that we're advertising. And now that we got it in the template, I'm going to go ahead and add the description for the video. So let's go for a Classic title and set the font size to 30 pixels. This section is going to match the style of the banner. So let's continue by adding a subtitle underneath that header. Let's go to the title section, and this time we're going to choose a small title. It doesn't match the style that we're using that much, so I'm going to go ahead, delete it, and select another Classic title. In this case, I'm going to edit the font style and set it to Helvetica Bold. And lastly, I'm going to set a size of 17 pixels. To wrap up with the description, let's add a paragraph element underneath the members text. Let's keep style consistency and go for a Helvetica Light paragraph. In this section, we tell the visitor about the different workshops they can join. Like I mentioned before, the objective of this area specifically is to illustrate the experience. The last component in here will be a button. This time we're going to label it Learn More, and the default color is going to be set to black. Let's also add a gray hover background. Perfect, so before we preview this section, let's go ahead and align the text elements to the video container. Alright, so let's see what we got here. And the video is not playing automatically, so let's fix that. In order to make this happen, we gotta go to the settings option. And here, it's just a matter of turning on the autoplay toggle switch. I'm actually also gonna turn on the loop functionality so the video never stops. Perfect. So this is it. This is the product in action. This is the use case section. We got it. Up next, we're going to have the testimonial section, where people are going to share their experiences with the workshops. If you go to the strips option, you're going to see that there's a whole section dedicated to pre-made testimonial containers. We have a wide range of choices, but in this case, we're not going to be using any of them, as we will be creating the testimonial section from scratch. Whenever we're creating an element on our own, we have way more control on the layout and the style. But most importantly, I want you to have a full grip of how you can create all of this on your own. So let's go ahead and add a white strip. First of all, I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. On top of the white strip, the first thing I'm going to add is a heading element. And here, I'm just going to label the section, the results. Right now, let's make sure that this heading matches the one from the section above. Let's have the same font and the same font size. In this case, we're going to have a Helvetica title with 30 pixels in size. For the testimonial element, we're going to start by adding an image. So let's go for that option and click on the Image Uploads button. Before adding the image, I'm going to go ahead and crop it a little bit. This is a tool that you can use in case you want to edit your image before you post it. In this case, I'm just going to crop one side of the image so we can get a square shape. I'm now going to resize the image, and as I'm doing it, I'm pressing Shift so we can keep the proportions. Below the image, I'm going to set a small title element, and this is where I'm going to place the name of whoever's creating the testimonial. The font size will be 18 pixels. Just underneath, we're going to have another Helvetica Light paragraph. This is where the testimonial content is going to go, so let's set an italic font surrounded by double quotes. And now let's bring in the testimonial. In this case, Jane's going to tell us how the workshops improved her fitness and helped her accomplish her very first Ironman. We're going to take a bit of a short route by duplicating the style of this element. So each one of the testimonials is going to feature 3 elements: an image, a name, and a description. Before we start copying, I'm just going to line it a little bit. So in order to duplicate it, we select one of the components, press the Ctrl or Command key, select the rest of the components, and then copy and paste. In this case, let's repeat this process a couple times because we're going to be having 3 different testimonials. And now let's make sure that they are all aligned properly. I'm going to use the same selection method to arrange the location of the elements. And now it's just a matter of editing the images and the text for every testimonial. Just click on the image and select Change Image. I'm going to be using the crop button to edit some of the details for each one of the testimonials. In this case, I'm going to be using the zoom in and zoom out feature and also arrange the frame for each one of the image containers. In addition to that, you can also flip the image around. I'm going to speed up this part of the video, but keep in mind that this is the exact same process that we carried out for the first testimonial. And now we have 3 different stories for the testimonials. This is basically the type of people that the fitness center is targeting as customers. Essentially, the best practice in here is to select from the testimonials you've got the ideal archetype or customer persona for your product. Now that we got the testimonials down, we're on to the last section of the website. This is going to be the contact or CTA section. This is where people are going to convert from visitors to leads. Before we move on, I want to talk to you about the different elements that can enhance the contact section. First of all, we got 3 elements that we can add. We can either add forms, maps, or a chat box. We got a set of pre-made forms that can be used for different purposes. And the best thing is they are all 100% customizable. So you can add one of the forms as a boilerplate and then edit the design. For this website particularly, I'm only going to add a simple contact form and a map. To begin with this part of the website, I'm going to have a few pictures displaying on the left side of the container. We're going to start by adding a white strip element into our template. I'm going to make this one larger than usual since we're going to be adding several different elements in here. To start out, I'm going to go ahead, add the images, resize them, and place them within the contact container. I'm going to lay them out on the left side, and I've got this idea of setting them up in this mosaic type display. For the right side, I'm going to start by including the title. The purpose of this section is to allow the visitors register to the fitness center. Following that, I'm going to be adding a contact form. I'll be using the first option. We're going to get a predefined contact us container with 5 different inputs. You can drag and drop it whatever you decide, and you can also resize it just like we did with the images. For this particular case, I only need the name and email inputs. And as you can see, we're free to select any input, delete it, or resize it. We can also move them around within the form element and place them wherever we decide. So I'm going to go ahead and only leave the name and email inputs. And now it's just a matter of rearranging the elements in order to leave the form as intuitive as possible. I'm going to place the inputs on top of each other and resize them. And whenever you click on the input, you're also able to edit the placeholder text. By editing the button settings, we are able to modify the message displayed every time a user submits a form. In this case, I'm going to notify them that the registration is completed. Apart from that, we can also assign different actions for whenever a form is submitted. As you can see, we can either show the success message, link to another page, to an external URL, or download a document. That purple icon you see in the last option indicates that that functionality is exclusive to the Ascend plan users. And now let's sort out the notifications for the contact form. The idea is that every time somebody submits a form in the website, we get an email. We set this up by clicking in the form and selecting the form settings option. This is very straightforward. In the first tab, we're going to click the Setup Email Notifications. And here, it's just a matter of defining the email where we are going to get the messages. In addition to your own email, you can also add other contributors as well. In the Submit Message option, we can edit the message displayed to the user every time a form is submitted. We can also edit details such as the amount of time that the message will be displayed. In this case, these 2 options are going to be the only ones that we're going to be using for this website. We're now done setting our contact form. It is that easy. And finally, I'm just going to sort out a few finishing touches. Let's align the button to the left side and change its background color. When we go to the button design option, Wix has already saved the custom style that we have created in the past. So I'm just going to select that custom color. Let's now go ahead and add the map for the fitness center. Let's go to the contact and forms section, but this time select the maps element. In here, you can choose from several different styles, but I'm going to go for the regular one. And once we get it in the template, we can resize it and position it wherever we want. So essentially, this is the contact form for this website. Keep in mind that the most important thing in here is for you to make it really easy for the visitor to fill in the form and make it as intuitive as possible. This is sort of an extreme example with only 2 inputs, but consider that every contact form has got to be tailored to the website's needs. Now, in this case, we only require the user to enter their name and email. The last thing I'm going to do in here is change the background for the form. I'm going to set it to white. By default, the contact form had a light gray color on the background and it made a contrast with the overall background of the website. But now that it's white, it blends in perfectly. Up next, we're going to be creating the footer element, adding the navbar and the menu functionality, as well as a mobile version of the website. So let's get going. I'm going to start by creating a relatively simple footer that will have an email address, the copyright text, and a few social media icons. If you go over to the bottom of the template, you will see that there's already an area assigned for the footer. So within this container, we're going to allocate the elements that I just mentioned. Let's begin by adding a small title element, and in here I'm going to write the email address for the fitness center. I will set a placeholder address, and I'm going to copy and paste it. This is what I'm going to be using for the copyright text as well. The only difference is going to be that this will be an all caps message. Let's go to the menu and click on the social option. And then it's just a matter of choosing the icon style that you want. I'm just going to align it to the center with the rest of the elements. You can select the icons that will be displaying by clicking on the Set Social Icons button. Here is where you can delete them, change the text, or redirect them to your social media account. I'm now going to go ahead and delete the ones that I'm not going to be using. For now, I'm going to leave these properties as they are and click the Done button. And now I'm just going to go ahead and align it with the rest of the elements. And just a quick detail before I finish up the footer, I'm going to be adding the copyright icon before the copyright text. Another good practice is to set the current year right after the name of your project. So this is it. This is going to be the footer for our landing page. The next element that we're going to be building is the navigation bar. So let's go to the top of the website, and in here we're going to place the logo and the menu items. Just like we have the footer, we also have a header container. Let me show you. Behind our video banner, we have the header element. Along with the footer, it will be displayed on every page of the website. If we were to create a new page, the header and footer elements would be retrieved. But in this case, we're not using a regular header. The video banner we created overrides the header container, which means that every time we create a new page, the header is not going to be retrieved since it's empty below the banner. What we can do whenever something like this happens is to treat the whole banner as our header element. You can do that by toggling on this Show on All Pages switch, which is located in the toolbar. And now if we select the banner and activate the Show on All Pages option, we're going to get to see it on every page, just like we did with the header element. Alright, so that was just a brief overview to illustrate how the header element works on Wix. In this case, we're not going to need to adjust the heading as we are creating a single page website. We will only be using the landing page. And now let's create the navigation bar. We are going to start by setting an anchor for each one of the landing page sections. These anchors are going to help us reference each area of the website. So every time we want to access it, we will be able to link to that specific location. Within the menu element, we are going to select the anchors option. And now we're going to click on it and drag it into the template. I'm going to place them right at the start of each one of the sections. It's very important that you differentiate each one of your anchors. So once it's set, double click on it and assign a name into it. I'm going to fast forward the process. Essentially, I am doing the exact same thing. I am setting an anchor for each one of the sections within the website. Once we finish with that, let's go ahead and set the menu items. Let's locate the menu option and in here select themed menus. Let's drag the first one onto the website. Let's go to Manage menu and click on the Add a Link button. And in here, make sure that you select the anchor option. Within the drop-down menu, you can select the anchor where you want to be directed to. As we create anchor elements, we can edit the name once they are added into the site menu. And that's essentially how you can create a navigation bar. You can also manage the order of your menu items by dragging them around. There's an extra element that I'm going to get rid of. I think this one is pointing to the page that we just created. I'm not going to need it, so I can either delete it or hide it. I'm going to go ahead and hide it. And finally, I'm going to edit the style of the menu. I'm going to set the font color to white. Perfect. Let's take a look at the preview and see how it works. And now every time we select a menu item, it's going to take us straight to the corresponding section of the website. With this ready, we can now move on to the final part. We're going to be optimizing the website for mobile use. Let's begin by selecting the mobile icon on top of the screen. And here we can manage the whole mobile display and preview it just like we did with the desktop version. We've got a set of tools specifically designed for mobile on the left side of the screen. For example, the hidden elements option is very relevant when it comes to designing for another view. There might be specific elements that you don't want to show on mobile, but you want to show on desktop and vice versa. So let me show you how this option works. Let's select the logo, go over to the toolbar on the right side and click the Hide button. As a result, the logo is now stored in the Hidden Elements box. And you can store its visibility back on whenever you like. So that's the hidden element functionality. Let's now have a general overview on the rest of the tools. The first one we got is a quick action bar. Whenever you add it in the website, you're going to get a few icons on the bottom of the screen that work as shortcuts. You can add, remove, edit the text and link of each one of the icons. So that's the quick action bar. We then have the back to top button. So it doesn't matter what the user is, they just click the button and go to the top of the website. We have the welcome screen functionality. In here you can create an animation whenever someone opens up your website. This section allows you to edit every element of your welcome screen. So finally, we've got the Chrome theme color. Whenever someone's browsing through Chrome, you can edit the background color of the whole screen and even override the default style that you see on the header. The second menu item allows you to set a background specifically for the mobile view. So in this case, if you have a background on the desktop version but want to have a different one on the mobile view, this is where you go to. We've also got the menus and pages option, and at the bottom we have the layout optimizer. In this case, we're not going to go in depth with this feature since we're building the website on our own. And now let's go ahead and edit the layout of the whole website for mobile, starting from the banner section. First of all, I'm going to make it larger so it fits the whole screen. We gotta click the stretch handle and drag it all the way down. And now we can drag each one of the elements wherever we want. At this point, it's just a matter of tweaking the elements. I'm gonna change a few font sizes and make the button bigger. As you can see, we've got a couple buttons that make the whole font editing easier. I'm just gonna adjust the join CTA a little bit and set it on the center. Perfect. Let's keep on going. Now it seems that the header element is below the banner. So first of all, let's drag the menu icon on top where it should be. And now we're going to shrink the excess space at the bottom. All set. Perfect. So now let's go down to the About section. I want to show you something real quick. Whenever you stretch an element, but you don't do it by selecting the stretch handle, it overrides the element at the bottom. So just keep that in mind. We can also arrange the location of the elements by using the arrow icons on the right side. I'm going over this because there might be some anchor elements that are located on top of the stretch handle. So make sure that whenever that happens, we just move the anchor element a bit, click on the stretch handle, and drag the container wherever we like. In this case, I'm going to adjust the width of the paragraph element and increase the font size of the title. I'm just going to finish it off by aligning the elements. Let's go over to the use case section. As you've noticed, a big part of the work when it comes to editing for mobile is creating space for the elements. So just like we've done in the past, we're going to start by expanding the main container and then setting up the layout for the rest of the elements. Perfect. I'm just going to cover up this white space by dragging the container. Note that I'm not going to be using the stretch handle because I want this container to be on top of the white space. For the results section, I'm just going to increase the height of the container, align the images to the center, and give the testimonials space between each other. This section has got the most elements, so I'm going to be moving things around a little bit more. And finally, let's increase the size of the title. Let's make sure everything is correct, and let's move on to the next section. And here we've got several pictures. I'm actually going to get rid of this one, the largest one. I'm going to hide it for this view. So in the mobile view, we're only going to get to see these two images. I'm going to attempt to keep the mosaic concept and shape the images a bit different. This section already has an appropriate height, so it's just a matter of laying out the elements and aligning them. So this is it. We've created the mobile version of the website. And now let's go back to the desktop view just to double check a few elements. Regardless of all the editing we've done, the desktop version is still the same. We even have the large picture right here. So that's how editing on mobile and editing on desktop work. I'm now going to set the links for each one of the buttons. Click on the button, select the link option, set an anchor, and select the reference where you want to go to. So the first one is going to take them directly to the contact form, and for this one I'm going to link them to the testimonials. So that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and preview the website. Right, so this is the desktop view, and now let's check out the mobile view. I'm just going to scroll all the way up, and let's begin by trying out the menu. I'm going to go into workshops, and now I'm going to try out the button. It all works, and as you can see, it looks pretty neat. I'm just going to go all the way up and try the last button. Perfect. It's now time to publish the website. Let's go back to the desktop editor. And once you click on the publish button, your website is going to be available. We're going to get a Wix domain, but if you want to change that, it's just a matter of getting a plan and updating the name of your website. This is it. We've created a landing page using Wix. As you can see, it is a very straightforward and intuitive tool. Let's now go ahead and try out the contact form. So let's write a test submission, quite literally. And yeah, right away we get the confirmation message. Let's now check the email, and here we go. This is a test submission. We got it. Let's take a look at it. And yeah, this is all the information retrieved from your form. So whenever you have a new lead, this is the notification you're going to get. I hope this helps you a lot in your site building process. It's been a pleasure as always. Any questions, I'll be on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.